Africa, a land of vast plains, flowing rivers, and towering mountains, where nature's grandeur is matched only by the richness of its history and cultural heritage. Before the Europeans came, there were magnificent kingdoms covering vast territories with diverse peoples. Africa was a beacon of civilization. Its lands were abundant with knowledge as well as precious resources that fueled its prosperity. The story of Africa is not a single story, but a tapestry of many stories woven together over thousands of years. Each kingdom, each tribe, each community contributed to the rich mosaic of African history. For centuries, Africa thrived. From the bustling markets of Timbuktu, where scholars and traders from around the world gathered, to the stone walls of Great Zimbabwe, a testament to the architectural prowess and organizational skills of its builders, our ancestors built empires that rivaled any in the world. They created cities that were centers of learning, culture, and commerce. They traded gold, salt, and spices across the Sahara, establishing trade routes that connected Africa to Europe, Asia, and beyond. They sailed the Indian Ocean, navigating its vast waters with skill and connecting with civilizations far and wide. These were not simple tribes as the Europeans often portrayed them. These were sophisticated societies with their own laws, art, and systems of governance. As we look to the future, we carry with us the legacy of these great civilizations, their achievements, and their wisdom. These were sophisticated societies with their own laws, art, and systems of governance. Africa's story is our inheritance. It reminds us of the power of innovation, strength, and unity. Before we continue, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Your voice matters. The Ghana Empire, glittering with gold, was a beacon of wealth and power in West Africa. This ancient empire, often referred to as the Land of Gold, was renowned for its vast reserves of the precious metal. The wealth of Ghana was not just in its gold, but also in its strategic position, which allowed it to control and benefit from the lucrative trans-Saharan trade routes. From the 8th to the 11th century, its control over the trans-Saharan trade routes made it a force to be reckoned with. Caravans laden with gold, salt, and other goods traversed the vast Sahara Desert, linking Ghana to distant lands and cultures. This trade network not only brought wealth, but also facilitated cultural exchanges and the spread of ideas. They traded their abundant gold for salt, copper, and even books, fueling a golden age of scholarship and prosperity. The bustling markets of Ghana were filled with traders from various regions, exchanging goods and knowledge. This vibrant trade environment contributed to the intellectual and cultural development of the empire. Then came the Mali Empire, even larger and mightier than Ghana. The Mali Empire, with its vast territories and diverse populations, became a center of wealth and learning in West Africa. Its influence extended far beyond its borders, attracting scholars, traders, and adventurers from across the known world. Under the rule of Mansa Musa, whose fame spread as far as Europe, Mali reached the zenith of its power. Mansa Musa's reign is often remembered for his extravagant pilgrimage to Mecca, which showcased the immense wealth of Mali. His journey not only demonstrated the empire's prosperity, but also its commitment to Islamic scholarship and culture. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca, a caravan laden with gold, showcased the empire's wealth to the world. The sheer scale of his caravan, with thousands of attendants and camels carrying gold, left a lasting impression on all who witnessed it. This grand display of wealth and piety cemented Mali's reputation as one of the richest and most powerful empires of its time. In southern Africa, the Shona people built Great Zimbabwe, a city of stone that stood as a testament to their architectural prowess and social organization. This impressive city, with its massive stone structures, was a center of trade and culture in the region. The ingenuity and skill of the Shona people are evident in the construction of these enduring monuments. Its towering walls, constructed without mortar, enclosed a thriving urban center, a hub of trade and culture. The great enclosure, with its high walls and intricate stonework, remains one of the most remarkable architectural achievements in Africa. This city was not only a political and economic center but also a symbol of the Shona people's ingenuity and resilience. The 19th century brought a new era of European aggression. Nations across Europe were driven by a desire to expand their territories and increase their wealth. Driven by greed for Africa's resources and a sense of misplaced superiority, European nations saw the continent as a treasure trove waiting to be exploited. European powers descended upon the continent like vultures, eager to claim their share of the spoils. Explorers and colonizers arrived in droves, each with their own agenda and ambitions. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 marked a dark chapter in Africa's history. During this conference, European leaders met to discuss the division of Africa with little to no consideration for the indigenous populations. Gathered around a table, far from the continent they were carving up, European leaders drew lines on a map, dividing Africa amongst themselves with no regard for the people who called it home. These arbitrary borders would have lasting impacts on the continent. Families, communities, and entire cultures were torn apart as artificial borders were imposed. The new boundaries often split ethnic groups and disrupted traditional ways of life, leading to long-term social and political issues. The scramble for Africa had begun. European nations raced to claim as much land as possible, often clashing with each other and with the local populations. European powers sought to exploit Africa's vast reserves of diamonds, gold, rubber, and other resources. The Industrial Revolution in Europe created an insatiable demand for raw materials, driving further colonization efforts. They saw Africa not as a partner, but as a source of cheap labor and raw materials to feed their growing empires. The exploitation of African resources and people would have devastating effects on the continent, the repercussions of which are still felt today. But the spirit of Africa was not broken. Across the continent, resistance to colonial rule simmered and grew. Leaders emerged, voices rose in unison, demanding freedom and self-determination. From the forests of West Africa to the savannas of the East, the fight for independence had begun. In Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah, a visionary leader, led the way, becoming the first sub-Saharan African nation to break free from colonial rule in 1957. His call for Africa for Africans resonated across the continent, inspiring others to rise up and claim their birthright. The struggle was long and hard, marked by bloodshed and sacrifice. But the people of Africa, united in their desire for self-determination, refused to be denied. One by one, African nations broke free from the shackles of colonialism. The 1960s saw a wave of independence sweep across the continent as country after country raised its flag and claimed its place on the world stage. It was a time of great hope and expectation, but the legacy of colonialism ran deep. The economies of many African nations remained tethered to their former colonizers, dependent on the export of raw materials and vulnerable to fluctuations in global markets. Political instability, fueled by the artificial borders drawn by colonial powers, plagued many nations. The fight for true independence, for economic and political sovereignty, was far from over. Today, a new dawn is breaking over Africa. Across the continent, there is a growing movement to reclaim Africa's narrative and its resources. From the copper mines of Zambia to the oil fields of Nigeria, African nations are asserting their right to control their own destinies. There is a renewed focus on adding value to raw materials, on building industries and creating jobs within Africa. Pan-African unity and the promotion of economic integration and cooperation are vital. The journey ahead is not without its challenges and obstacles, but Africa is a continent on the rise. With its young and vibrant population, its abundant natural resources and its indomitable spirit, Africa is poised to reclaim its place as a global leader in the world. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. And Africa, the cradle of humanity, is dreaming big and bold. We are dreaming of a continent where every child has access to education, where poverty is a distant memory, a thing of the past, and where the benefits of our resources are shared equitably among all our people. This is Africa's time. The time for our renaissance has come, and it is now.